Jackson gave me the news of a planet far away, and Colonel O'Neill will assemble a team that will try to save the day. Dr. Sam has a master plan and a science attitude, and the job for Teal, he's part of the deal with his trusty go-out. It's just a regular day, it's Stargate Command, and it might be hard to understand.
Chevron 1 encoded. Chevron 2 encoded. Chevron 3 encoded. Chevron 4 encoded. Oh no, this is gonna happen. Chevron 5 encoded. Chevron 6 encoded. Chevron 7 flies. We are saving the world.
We're back with another slightly infuriating episode. God damn it. Welcome back. It's been a little bit of a minute. We had our 100th episode party, but now we're back. We're back to the grind.
It occurred to me that there were 2 parties in a row. Like we just did 2 parties in a row because we did the 100th. And
then
we
sure did.
Our birthday thing. And
then, yeah.
It's been a minute since we've actually done an episode. So
our bad. Oopsie.
Yeah, sorry y'all.
This is where the memories are made though, guys.
You know.
So, we are here to talk about season 4, episode 19, which is Prodigy.
We didn't tell people who we are out there yet.
Oh yeah.
Well, we are off our routine here. Sarah, you got it.
Yeah. I'm your co-fry Sarah.
I'm your co-fry Christina.
I'm your co-fry Wells.
All right. And now we're here to talk about season 4, episode 19, which is Prodigy. But before we get into our thoughts, our pre-episode thoughts, let's jump in the fry box and cover some housekeeping.
Short, cause we're 3 fries short.
I almost wasn't even on the button. But this was like a problem. Like we are, y'all, it's been too long. Also, my internet is being apparently laggy, so apologies if I freeze, but y'all are kind of used to that at this point too.
Yeah.
The good news is your audio is fine. You're great. You're just, we get like blurry wells. We're like trippy wells, but your audio is great.
You know, that's fine. That's fine. We don't mind. I guess I have the whole fry box today. Just so everybody out there knows, I will be the lone fry at Ascension in the UK and at FedCon in Germany.
Wow.
Sad lone fry, but I will be there. So I really
so happy.
Yeah, I'm glad we're at least some representation there, you know. And obviously the companion wanted to have a presence there anyway. So but yeah, I will have some hopefully new goodies to give away if you can find me at those places. We were just talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
We don't have a table. The companion does not have a table at either of those cons, not due to lack of trying. Nobody got back to us. So
wow.
You know, that's
But you know what though?
Yeah.
Like going back in time, like did you have an official table at Basingstoke? Absolutely, we did not.
We are the table.
We just,
like did you make the table? Yes.
Yes. So we will, no doubt, with the help of all of you that are going, we will find a spot and we will lock it down and we will have it the entire weekend. So
nice.
Yeah.
And in the words of Lawrence, there are no rules.
There are no rules. There's talk of companion shirts, trying to get those ordered if I can get some responses on that. Yeah. And the other thing is I thought I'd just give a really quick book update. Embracing Mental Health as a Fandom book. We are heavy into the editing process. I have started sending emails out requesting people's edits of some of their submissions. I even wrote my afterward. So like we're like on the way. I know Amanda has written some things. So we're getting it done slowly but surely. But we're looking for probably to have another Kickstarter for it. Specifically, we still will have the collector's editions, but also we will be trying to have some paperbacks as well for people. So,
nice.
You know,
nice.
I personally would like the collector's edition to keep on a shelf somewhere, and then the paperback to like read. So I plan to have both. But you know, if you want one or the other, we are trying to do the paperback thing, and we like we had said before, the ebook will be free for everybody anyway. So guaranteed, we will have other goodies available to you during that campaign. But it'll come in a little bit. We still have to. I'm shipping our last pin campaign out starting tomorrow. So if you ordered the Lunar New Year's pins, those are all hitting tomorrow. Now that I have all the supplies I need for it. So yeah.
Yay.
Shipping has kind of become the bane of my existence. I'm not gonna lie.
Say, like, you're a one-person show where you just like.
Yeah. Well, I don't ship the Europe and UK and like anything outside of the US. Lawrence ships.
Okay.
But it's about 50-50, like US versus everywhere else.
Okay.
So but yeah, it's a little bit weird to be like, let me edit some stories and then go ship these pins. It's very
yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot of shifting of gears. But yeah, that's the companion burger inside the fry box. Come see me at Ascension or FedCon or FedCon, because I know some people are going to both.
I didn't realize FedCon was in Germany. I don't know why I thought it was over here.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the train.
Get some wiener schnitzel.
In Paris.
You're gonna have so much fun.
Yeah. Drink some good beer.
Yeah.
It'll be the one time when I'm traveling that I won't be drinking Prosecco will be in Germany, because that's beer time, you know.
My one coworker is going over there in October for like their Oktoberfest time of year, which sounds like fun. I'm jelly.
Germany is beautiful. When my sister was stationed there, I went over and stayed with her for a while, and it was so beautiful. I had the best time over there. So Wells, you've been there before, right, Wells?
Yeah. Huh? I've actually been. So this where FedCon is in Bonn, Germany, which is actually like 20 minutes away from Cologne, which is where that giant cathedral that you see all over TikTok these days, the like dark German.
Oh, that cathedral.
That's in Cologne.
I didn't.
Yeah.
That shit's wild every time I see it. It doesn't even. It looks so like otherworldly.
It does in person too. It's really wild.
I saw a video too of like somebody going up to it, and it's like a McDonald's is like right next to it, and I'm like, that's so bizarre to see this like gothic looking thing that comes out of like a fucking storybook, and then it's like Ronald McDonald.
Yep.
Little capitalism.
Maybe we'll get Sophie, who will no doubt be listening to this tomorrow. But maybe we'll get Sophie to drive us up to Cologne, and we can like FaceTime you in front of that cathedral, Sarah.
Yeah.
It'd be really
Every time I see one of those videos, I send it to Wells because I know you've been there, you've seen it, and I'm like, this should
send them to me. I'm missing out. I love that building. I love architecture like that. I love it.
And there's just the knowing the lore around that one, like why everything is so new around it, because everything else was bombed, but they kept that there, so that was like the target basically. Yeah, it's why it's so bizarre looking in the middle of everything. Anyway, I digress, but we will try to get in front of it for both of y'all. We'll say hi. So
thank you,
Sophie, when you're listening to this in the future, just keep that in mind. Sophie will be the chauffeur for Germany. So
I love how just Sophie's being voluntold.
She's already offered. She's already offered. Yeah,
I'm so sad. You guys are gonna have so much fun. Please, just like I need to like take all the pics.
Yeah. Aww. Oh, we will.
I have such FOMO, but you guys are gonna have a good time. Okay. All right.
Are we ready to end this episode?
Let's do it.
Begrudgingly, yeah.
Overall thoughts on this episode. So, like, I know we kind of talked a little bit before, but I remember like hating this episode. I never like rewatched it. I'm like, oh, it's the one with like the snotty girl, blah blah blah. This time around, like, I definitely was more open-minded and approached it differently, and have different thoughts. I thought it was going to go one way and it went a different way. I thought it was going to be like, oh, it's going to be the whole fucking trope of like the younger up and coming smarter scientist gonna knock down the older, more established scientist a peg. But that's not the case because Sam is our main character in this episode. Like she's our character. So like it came off like these fucking young kids don't know what they're talking about and they need to listen to the older, more wise adults you know what I mean? Like that's how it came off to me.
I think it's funny though because I can't say enough that it really does feel like this conflict brought to you by the patriarchy, because when Sam and Haley are able to work things out by themselves, like, and listen to each other, it's fine. Like, yes, because there is a chain of command, Sam has to knock her down a couple of times, but that's kind of that's protocol, you know, like that's kind of what happens. But like Sam never like the idea Sam being like, oh no, she was right, or oh this was this, but you're not thinking about it this way, or what, you know, like between the two of them, it was generally okay. But it's like all these dudes,
these fuck ass dudes ruining the plot.
But and then my only other statement, I said it to y'all in the text earlier, is that I also originally was really annoyed with her the first times that I watched this episode. And then as I've gotten older, I'm like, no, I totally fucking get it. Like to be compared to one person the entire time, like one person, and like never feel like everybody's telling you you're not living up to that. I would be angry. I would be very angry, you know, not gonna lie.
So that's a good segue into my perspective on how I watch it. So it's interesting to hear both of yours perspective a little bit differently, because whenever I've watched it, I actually more related to her and the being compared, because I always grew up being like, well, you and your brother have the same test scores. You guys have this, you have that. And I had the same teachers, the same things. Oh, he's now a rocket scientist and he's this and this and this. And it's like, and you're an artist. Like that, but like my whole life, it was the like comparing my notes to my brothers, like from birth to like graduation and even after. And then there's my sister in the middle who gave like a different complexity, because like I never got compared to her, but she never got compared to anybody because her testing was different. And it was always this, like the amount of times it was, if you could just use your brain like your brother, you'd be so much better. I got told that on the annual, like constantly. By teachers, professors, the school, like constantly, because they would look at my testing and be so confused as to why I had what we now know, executive dysfunction. Like I couldn't complete tasks because I didn't have the support I needed. Where he doesn't struggle with neurodivergence. He's not on the spectrum. His brain is just, anyway, it doesn't matter. But so I related, because you just become super just bitchy in a way of like, fuck off, like fuck all of you. Like I know what I'm trying to say and I know that it's right. I might get there a different way or whatever, but like I kind of related to her constantly. So I had a lot of empathy for her character. And I also like how at the end you can see her defense mechanism kind of come down and soften when she finally has someone she can talk to that's on that same level and isn't degrading her. But the thing I hate, that we all hate about this episode, is outside of her and Sam, it's a fucking patriarchal meltdown of just like stupidity. And like that kind of, I have thoughts on it now, because you see these two really smart, brilliant women, and then it's juxtaposed against the worst of their like idiot, even the shit that like Jack's doing, all that is so stupid in comparison. And I now look at it and I'm like, oh, that's so intentional to give that like gap. So I appreciate the episode a bit more for how they chose to do that, because I appreciate that I hated the men so much in this episode. It means they did a great job. That's kind of my takeaway now.
Yeah, and thinking about it, there's 3 men total that kind of are like the women have to answer to. There's the professor, there's the general in charge of the academy, and then there's Jack. And again, like I'm sure I have thoughts on that. I just need to like let it stew for a little bit before I can verbalize it. But like it feels icky. This B plot of this episode pissed me the fuck off too. And I have so many thoughts about it. I'll save it for when we're into it. But I'm like, don't. Why you gotta make me like side with the military? God damn it! Like, and there's a lot in this episode where it's just like the military kind of like waving their dick around and being like, don't forget, you're only here because we allow you to be here. As in, like, the real US military inserting themselves into this episode.
Oh,
and we all know the history behind that. The show worked very closely with the US Air Force, which I can't, like, I have complicated feelings about that because, like, I don't know, I gotta unpack that. But, like, the military used the show as, like, a recruiting tool of, like, look, like, we work with the show, isn't it cool? Like, we're involved in this fun show. Come join us. Like, so
yeah. I also think like the military was very different back at that time because we're pre 9/11 still at that point,
yeah.
right? We're pre 9/11. It was very different.
It's getting close. I think this was in 2001. Let me give it a Google.
Yeah, there's a good shift when that just because I've thought about this before, but yeah, just it was different. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to kind of noodle on it and see after we talk it through how your feelings progress on that, Sarah. Because it's like you can tell it's right there. You can tell you're there, but like I think us talking it through, it'd be interesting to see. Because yeah, are you looking up the date?
Yeah, I am. February 2nd, 2001. So we're not there.
We're getting close. We're getting there.
You're getting close. All right.
It probably didn't happen until like we were into season 5. But anyway.
I think there is something to say, and it'll come further in the episode, but like you were talking about the 3 men that, you know, they have to answer to. And I think there is that level of so Jack talking to the scientist was one thing, but when Haley and Carter get on to the moon, the way he's talking to them, he does that same thing with Haley where he's like, I don't know what that means, but I'm going to trust that you're telling me something. And it probably that, you know, between that and Sam contributes to that, like bringing the shields down a little bit. So I do think it's nice to see that progression of people that go, oh no, he trusts that you're smart as fuck, you know, like that is not, and that is not the issue. Like,
and I don't think the men in her life at that point had given her that credit. Like the professor and the Air Force general in charge of the academy, they're like, oh yeah, she's smart, but I'm still in charge. Like, don't ever forget that. And this is something, here's my like dose of like feminist teaching today. I'm sure like is not a secret, but like I've been thinking about it more lately, is that like they're in a patriarchal structure, the US military. For many reasons, patriarchy in all of its forms is hierarchical. Like you have the chain of command, right? And a matriarchal structure is more community driven. It is a we, not me thing. And it's more of a community based thing of working together. And you can kind of see that juxtaposition with like Sam and Haley working together in this patriarchal structure of this hierarchical chain of command that they have to work within. And it's an interesting juxtaposition to see. Because that at certain points, like you need that structure, but a lot of times it can be detrimental, I think.
Especially there's a good balance to it. You gotta have like you gotta have that balance. But yeah. So okay, I'm gonna think about that as we talk it through because I didn't think about that when thinking about my perspective on it, but I'm gonna noodle on that, Sarah, because that's a really good way to kind of look at it.
It's I'll have to find some like videos to send to you because it's a concept that I hadn't really thought of until it was pointed out, and I'm like, no, you're right. Like if you think of a matriarchy, it's definitely more community based. Everybody works together, focused on like raising children and whatnot. And a patriarchy is more like, depending on what kind of patriarchy we're talking about, it's like God, then man, then woman, then children, and everyone, you know, the person below has to answer to the person above them. And it just so happens that like, you know, the man is at the top and he's the head honcho.
That's really interesting to think about in the fact that I was looking at the demographics for our local Indivisible chapter yesterday, and it's 90% women in the group. Yeah.
If you think about it, like I'm sorry, I'm gonna go a little off topic here. This whole
go.
bitch,
Us on tangents?
this whole
What?
male loneliness epidemic thing that has been running rampant on the internet. I'll just be as blunt as possible here. Men are kind of shit at making community. And they have been relying on women to be their community, whether it's like be their girlfriend and be their wife. And now that women are kind of opting out of relationships on a whole, or like putting it off and not centering relationships in that way, the men are floundering. They're like, what do? We have no community. A lot of the time they turn to places like the gym or the podcast bro area of the world, right? Where all they do is just shit on women. Like that's their community, is getting together and shitting on women. And I saw this article that came out of a woman who went on like an alt-right dating website and exclusively dated alt-right men. And she talked about her experience with it. And she went to like some political rally where it was supposed to be this alt-right thing, and all they did the entire time was bitch about the women in their life. My wife this, my ex that, meh. Like, yes, Megan.
I'm sorry I broke the rule, but it
world's
kind
smallest
of needed
violence.
to happen right now. Yeah.
Well, Sarah, on that topic, just like as a branch to then come back to, because I think you'll have like talks on this, because I don't know if I sent this to y'all or not, but because I saw that, because that woman got interviewed by CNN, and I saw that, and
she went on a podcast I watched. I'll send it to you. It's very good. She goes into kind of depth about it.
There was a separate, not related to that, but separate thing that came across recently for me, and it's an interesting perspective, and it's that, because we always say like men need therapy, and it was this perspective that maybe it's not necessarily therapy, maybe not ready for therapy yet, because if you kind of think about, and they're kind of the records of how when men approach therapy, they still approach it in this very kind of misogynistic way, but it was more of, to your point, men need community. Men need to be called out by the men in their community to do better, because that's the only people that they're really going to listen to at this point, when they're so far down the red pill of that, is that like men need to stand up and like kind of set those examples and that tone for other men to then like prepare them to then be ready to go to therapy, because all that's happening is that they go to therapy and they're like, fuck this therapy. Fuck this. This is bullshit. They don't know me. It's interesting. And then but it goes back to, so real quick, your point about they need to learn true community, true, not this like, we're going to be
hierarchical bullshit. Yeah.
Because the reality is like, sure, we might hate on men, but like I don't hate men. I love men. I love the men in my life that like have done it. So like I'm not that. I decenter the patriarchy from my life, but like for me, I love the men in my life. But the difference is that I can hold them accountable and they can hold me. And there's this thing, and they're not like defensive about it. But it's when they can't sit with themselves. That's the problem. If someone can't sit with themselves, it's as simple as that. Like, you don't have to be perfect, but if you can't sit with yourself, like that's where I've started. That's kind of my like red flag meter. Like, can this person sit with themselves? Nope. Okay, done. You're out of my life. Can you? Okay, maybe I have a window of opportunity to like let you come in a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I did not mean to say that. But it is interesting. Sorry. But
to your point, like men going to therapy and they think like, oh, fuck this. Or the secret third horrible option is that they weaponize the therapy language that they learn. They learn about therapy and then they use it and weaponize it against people as a way to manipulate people. And it's like, oh, my boundary is this. You're gaslighting me. Blah blah. Like, it's just weird and manipulative and gross. But like,
that's why I go back to, can they sit with themselves? Because even if they've gone to therapy, you like, so they're good at fooling you. And as having been with someone who's been so narcissistic, it's that red flag of, can they sit with themselves? Though? If
what does that mean though? What do you mean, can they sit with themselves? What does that mean?
Like, do they self-reflect? Like, do they in conversation go, hey, I was thinking about this thing the other day, and I'm not really proud of this, or like, hey, could you like noodle on this with me? I don't really feel that I approach this with my son the right way, and I'd like some different perspective.
Okay.
Like, that's what I mean by sit with themselves. Or like, hey, I took myself for a walk because I was just having a hard time and I needed to think about it. Like, that's what I mean. Like, that's when they can kind of be present.
Yep. So to link this back to the episode.
Yes. Sorry. Tangent,
I think
all
the way back.
up.
Yeah. So this leads this whole like men kind of suck at building community. That's not like the fucking gym or whatever. It leads back to the fact that they think so hierarchically. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but they think in a hierarchy.
Which mean?
Where women are more community based, and they're like, oh, you're going to be a single cat lady forever. And it's like, you don't get it though. Like, women can have rich, fulfilling friendships where they don't need to be with somebody or be married or have children. Like, women and femme people too, like including the non-binary community in this as well. Like, they've decentered relationships to the point where it's like, I go to a book club, and then I go to church, and I have a knitting club and my online friends, and I go out to lunch every Wednesday with my coworker. Like, it's so community based, where they have friends at all different corners of the world, and men don't. And that's kind of sad, and they're depriving themselves of that, but it's fucking self-inflicted, bro. Like,
well, it's like getting a bunch of main characters together, not realizing that like they're all allowed to be the main character, but instead they think everybody else is the NPC to their life. Like, that they can't handle. They literally cannot compute.
Yeah. Like, and that's something like I look for, like with Adam. He has friends. He talks to his friends every day. They are online friends. Like, the one lives in Pennsylvania. Yeah,
we're online friends.
Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, he's not relying 100% on me to fulfill that whole area of his life. You know what I mean? Right. Like, he has other people he can talk to. He has friends. Like, that's important, I think.
You guys, I totally forget that we are online friends until we have these conversations, and then I'm like, but that's us, because like I don't think people realize how many times have we all seen each other in person. Like, I know Wells is a little bit different because we live closer now, but like, less than 10, like less than 5.
Less than 5.
But we are actually friends, and it's not like a parasocial thing. Like, there's a difference too, where like people get sucked into like the parasocial world, and like they follow these podcast bros or like this creator and that creator, and like they don't have any actual friends they can talk to. So anyway, I was thinking about that, like in the context of this episode, the hierarchy structure versus the more community-based matriarchal structure, and how like just the military on a whole is a patriarchal structure because it is based off of hierarchy. So anyway, now that we've got all that out, let's get into this actual episode.
Let's do it.
30 minutes into the live stream. Yeah.
But you know what? It's what happened at the beginning or the end. It's happening. We can give a little footnote for those who are watching it later. Also, skip to this time.
Oh yeah, I can do the time code. I can do the time codes at YouTube and everything anyway. But it also, the actual meat of this episode, it's probably going to go by fairly quickly anyway, because it's pretty succinct, you know, like what happens. So yeah.
So our episode opens with a sweet shot of that glass map in the briefing room. And O'Neill walking into Hammond's office. He has some grievances about this mission he's about to go on. And we see Hammond is with another general named General Ryan. This is a real Air Force general. And I don't know, I clocked this immediately just because of the way this man spoke. Like, he did not speak like an actor. I'm like, oh, this is a real person. Like, you can tell just by the way he's carrying himself and speaking and whatnot. So cue the ass kissing to the U.S. military.
He was the chief of staff of the Air Force when this episode aired.
Yeah. He was basically like himself in this episode. Which he is still alive, by the way. I googled him. He's like in his 80s.
Yeah.
Aww.
So Ryan is there to discuss this ridiculous mission that Jack doesn't want to go on with Hammond, and a proposal to make this planet a permanent research station. So Jack poses the question, like, how did Carter and Daniel get out of this? Which, by the way, Daniel, absent from this episode 100%. He's not even here. They like red-shirted him off to like with SG-11 somewhere. They're like, whatever, bye. I don't know what
probably
has
something on. To do, you know.
Yeah,
they do that.
Yeah. And Sam is giving a lecture at the Air Force Academy for theoretical physics. And Hammond says, if you're willing to take her place, be my guest. And he's like, oh no, I'm good. Like, never mind.
I love how quietly he's just like, no. Like, no.
So he leaves, and General Ryan gets a good dig of like, you've got your hands full with that one, George. Haha. Cut to Sam's lecture. No, go ahead.
sorry, it's won't be a big side tangent, but I think about it now because I think about how RDA was like on set in general, like in real life, like truly a handful. So I'm like thinking about like actually like he is just a handful to fucking get anything done.
Oh, I'm
like,
sure. Yeah. That was
so
written
like,
in, I'm sure, on
I
purpose.
think that was on purpose. He is delightful, a handful. He does what he wants.
He's definitely like squirrel energy, like squirrel.
He was just in Texas at a con, he and Shanks. I've seen lots of pictures online.
I think I did too,
so.
Yeah. So yeah, there was definitely like he was definitely fangirling over that general. Like it was meant to be
General
like
Ryan.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So cut to Sam's lecture. Off the bat, just like pure observation. 70-ish% of the crowd looks to be men. One of which dares to question her, the blasphemy. So she says, look, I realize these concepts are a little bizarre, and many of you cadets would rather be somewhere else right now, like doing all the cool stuff. But on the other hand, the aerodynamics that are one day going to allow you to fly an F-22 started out as squiggles on a board just like this. These calculations are the key to opening up the entire universe. Wormholes in hyperspace may seem like science fiction, but take my word for it. The future is a lot closer than you might think. So, yeah, wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. Yeah. I thought this was it reminded me of the movie Hidden Figures, which if you haven't seen it, it's fantastic. You should watch it. But it's about the women, the Black women, who were behind the equations that helped us get to the moon. So, and I'm the kind of person that I like to know the why behind certain things. Like when I'm training on something at work, when I'm learning something new, I'm always like, well, why do you do it that way? And to some people, it might seem like, I don't know, like people, depending on the person, they might not understand. Like they think I'm questioning them. Like, why? What do you mean why? That's because like, but no, like it helps me understand the processes better. It helps me understand and learn it better and solidify like we do it this way because of this. If we don't do it this way, this bad thing will happen. So I like the concept that she's talking of like, hey, this boring ass math is the reason why you can do this cool stuff over here. Like, I think it's important to know the reason why. So as Sam's lecture concludes, we see one of the few female cadets coming up from the sea of men. It's in the long shot, you can pick out a couple other women, and then in the back, there's people that I don't think are cadets. They might be different people. Like they don't look like they're in uniform. Their hair doesn't look. I was looking very closely, but at a certain shot, like she sticks out like a sore thumb because she is the only female in this group of men, like contained to this shot. Because the one that questioned Sam was sitting right next to Haley.
Yeah.
So.
And she like Haley rolls her eyes at him at one point too, like while they're still sitting there. Yeah.
Yeah. Sam's lecture concludes and everybody claps, but she doesn't clap. So like you can she's sticking out like a sore thumb. Like you can tell if something's gonna happen with her, like through all of the context clues.
Yeah. When she's not clapping, it's not because she's being at that point, it doesn't feel like because she's being mean. She's literally like you see her like in that shot go from like this to like that, like she's looking at what's on the board. Yeah. And so she's like concentrating hard. At this point, she's not like the chip is not apparent on the shoulder yet, like
Yeah. So after the lecture, we see this young cadet looking at Sam's equations and she says they're wrong. The professor gives her shit and tells her not to question one of the leaders in the field of astrophysics. The cadet apologizes and walks away. Professor Monroe tells Sam, Jennifer Haley, very intelligent, but difficult personality. Boo, tomato, tomato, number one. Why would you say that? What does that mean? Like, would he have said that? Dare I ask the question? Do I need to say the fucking words?
I mean, she's disobedient. She's to
but if
paper.
I'm gonna say it anyway. But if it was a guy, oh, he's a free thinker. He's got leadership qualities. He's one to look out for. Like you could twist it any way.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Sam realizes that she did make an error that neither she nor the professor noticed. Opening credits. We cut to the off-world location where Jack was scheduled to go, and they're scoping out for permanent research. Jack and Teal'c are getting debriefed. It's all very boring and not much is going on. The one doctor is bitching at them for not getting the equipment they needed. And these, like, I don't know what, like, they're not even in BDUs. Like, when Daniel goes places, like, he at least wears the uniform. These scientists are looking like little fucking nerds. Like,
yeah, but I don't think they're not on an SG team. They're like,
oh, okay.
you know,
Fair
like
point.
Daniel is on an SG team. They're part of like the SGC science people. So
That's true, but you'd think,
Like the
I don't
labs.
know. You'd think I would want to, like, have the gear that, I don't know. It just seems weird. Like, they're in their khaki pants and look like fucking dorks in the middle of, I don't know. It's weird.
Don't be making fun of dorks. No.
You can't help it because that's how they want you to think of them in this episode.
especially in
like,
2001. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
they were pushing it really hard, and I'm like, don't make me hate these people, but you're doing everything possible to make me hate them.
Yeah,
And
I
I
know.
refuse because I'm like, God damn, like, come on. They're really trying to reinforce that stereotype. So,
Yeah.
cut back to the Air Force Academy. Sam meets with General Kerrigan and asks about Cadet Haley. So we have this dialogue between the two of them. I'll read like the narrator part of it.
okay.
Cool. I got Kerrigan.
She pointed out a mistake in a complex equation that changed the result completely. I couldn't believe it.
Kerrigan hands Carter a report titled Towards a New Cosmology of Multiple Realities by Jennifer Haley. A red D is marked on the spot for the paper's grade.
Here, give this a read. Once you brush the chip off her shoulder, she reminds me of another bright young cadet who came through a few years back.
I have no idea what you're talking about, sir.
Cadet Haley is a very smart young woman. Her SATs were through the roof, even higher than yours. Unfortunately, she's sometimes too smart for her own damn good.
Ooh.
Professor Monroe said she has discipline problems.
The kid's bored. Came here for a challenge, but it's not enough for her.
Not enough? This is just the beginning of her career. How could she possibly know what's ahead for her?
I know, but she doesn't see it, Sam. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I see her potential. Her physical skills are terrific despite her size. She's an expert marksman, superb glider pilot. But that's not all there is to becoming an Air Force officer. If she keeps insisting on doing things her own way, then
I'd like to talk to her, if that's okay.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Okay.
So, okay, hold up. But can I have thoughts? Because I know,
Yeah.
Sarah, your thought. So I actually, the fact that he's like, I'd hope you talk to her. Like, I think he understands the restraints he's under and is kind of hoping that maybe there is a different path for her. Like, he knows that Sam's up to some shit. Like, for me, I think he identifies that, yeah, she is bored. Yeah, this is not the place for her. But as far as he's able to control or influence, he's kind of at a loss. Like, he needs like a Hail Mary from somewhere else. And I kind of don't hate the fact that he at least recognizes that and at least is like, hey, Sam was kind of hoping, because he doesn't want Haley's talent to maybe go like to waste, but he's limited in the scope of what he can do. So not making any like positive for him, but I don't totally hate his like approach in this space.
I guess my only like counter argument to that would be like, why didn't he just fucking ask Sam? Why did he like make her jump through these hoops and like do, here I go, the emotional labor of like figuring it out and coming to him to talk to him? Why can't he approach her and be like, hey, we have this cadet. Every fucking buddy compares her to you. She's won all the awards that you've been up for. She's gotten all the blah, blah, blah that you've got. Like, she's a mini you. Like, we find out later on that everybody compares. So we want you to take her under your wing. Or, like, can you talk to her because she's kind of difficult? Like, it's weird. Like, I don't know. It's like he makes Sam come forward and ask about it instead of him reaching out to her and asking, like, hey.
I think it's interesting, and maybe it's just from like my managerial perspective of like, sometimes you have to like let people see it for themselves to maybe see if you're consistent. Like maybe validating. Like if Sam also sees it, then maybe like this path, it's good. But if Sam didn't see it, maybe he'd be like, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna say it, because rather than forcing it on her. But I don't know. Like we could go down that for.
I
forever,
get that point too. Of like, if Sam approached it, Sam is approaching it from like pure curiosity at this point, of like pure true interest in this young woman, versus like, we're giving you this assignment, or I'm asking you this favor.
If he had asked her, it would have been, in her eyes, I've been ordered to do this because this is a general that's ordering me to do this. So there is that argument to be made too, that like this feels more like it is a choice of hers versus, oh, this is an order down
command telling me to do something.
Hierarchy. Yep.
So that's why I'm like, I don't hate it. I think he worked within the system he had to try to nudge something. But
I do also think that later, it's interesting to think about these three. I'm still stuck on the three men, Sarah, that you're talking about.
Oh yeah,
because the professor guy at some point later.
Oh, he's a hater.
He's a hater, and he doesn't act. He actually like he says something that indicates that he doesn't like. He indicates that Kerrigan actually does really like Haley. Because like he's like, well, he's not going to be able to excuse this or something. So like you can tell that he's already been trying to like work with her. So it is that's speaking of hierarchies, that's the hierarchy of these men and like how they look at her. At least Kerrigan is interested in her and sees like potential, like big potential.
And the professor answers to Kerrigan, and he has no power over that because in the hierarchy, so he's got to wave his dick around and you know what I mean? Like he has to exert power on those below him to make himself feel powerful in the hierarchy. So to me, when I first heard this conversation, it very much gave the vibe of like, these young women, we don't know what to do with them. I'm glad you're here because you're a lady and you can just take care of it because, women, am I right? Like, that's kind of the vibe that I got. But I don't know. Like,
oh, it's valid. It's so valid.
Because it's so obvious. Like, when you're watching the lecture, it is so obvious that, like, and this is a choice that they made. To make, like, they could have gotten equal amounts of extras of men and women to sit in this lecture hall. They chose to make it, she is one of the very few young women, and sometimes the only young woman.
But I think that's the reality.
Crowd.
Like that's the reality,
though. 100% the 2001 military reality. Like,
correct.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually pulled accurate numbers on like what like the class demographics would have been like for something like that.
Yeah.
You know,
especially if literally like Ryan was in it, like the episode that he's gonna be in better be accurate as fuck.
Like, they made Sam cut her fucking hair to be accurate. Like Haley's hairstyle in this episode, first of all, girl, like it's looking like a helmet, but it's accurate. That's how.
If you're gonna have long hair as an AFAB person in the military, it either has to, it has to be like one of a few different ways that they have to do it, basically.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, like if I keep going off on like the men versus women thing, but you can't ignore it in this context.
No, it's great.
It's an integral part. Yeah, it's an integral part of these two women's identity of existing in this male structure. Like.
Yeah. No, I think we're having actually a really great conversation around it because I love that there is this actual structure that we are talking about, the patriarchal versus the matriarch. And then coming from our like opposite kind of like lenses of it, this is actually getting good conversation because I totally see your side of it too. And I'm trying to be like a little bit of that neutral of like trying to see it. I don't know. I love the dialogue. So I'm kind of going to geek out over it progressing, but no, I love it.
Back off-world as more of the same. Dr. Hamilton wants to explore a network of caves, but Jack tells him to wait until he's had a chance to scope it out. Hamilton is annoyed, but Jack is like, dude, this is another planet. We need to be smart about this. And this is where I'm like, oh God, like you can't tell me that like scientists would not understand this, but they're acting like petulant children almost. And I think I have a note in here about that later on. But Hamilton's like, well, actually, it's a moon. It's not a planet. It's a moon. And it's like, okay, you're just trying to make me hate these assholes. Like, you're trying to make us be annoyed with these kind of like have Jack's perspective of like these fucking nerds. Oh my god, I gotta babysit these.
Which, by the way, is a trope that
dweebs.
continues throughout Stargate. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't stop with this episode. Like,
Here, talk about hierarchy again, though, because we have like the cool scientists, which is Sam and Daniel, and then we have the fucking nerd scientists, which are all the people below them. Hierarchy, once again. So Jack stands firm and tells Hamilton that he needs to wait. Like, chill out, homie. So then back at the academy, Sam meets with Haley in a lab. So there's some dialogue. I don't think if there's any like narration, I'll get it.
I
Cool,
think it's
but
just
you guys
straight,
got this. Yeah.
straight dialogue.
Yep, I got Haley.
I wanted to talk to you about the term paper you did for Professor Monroe, Towards a New Cosmology of Multiple Realities. It's an interesting topic
Professor Monroe gave me a D.
because it wasn't the assignment.
Permission to speak freely, ma'am.
Mhm.
The assignment was lame.
Maybe it was, but it was the assignment.
You read it anyway?
Matter of fact, I did. It's intriguing.
Same word Professor Monroe used.
Maybe because that's what it is, an intriguing idea, but it's based on way too many unfounded assumptions to make a valid theory. For example, you assume that matter can travel both ways through an open wormhole.
So
How do you know?
Well, until somebody shows me a real wormhole that can only go one way.
That's not the point. You made an assumption.
What about your assumption, Major, that you're the one that's right and I'm wrong?
Cadet, that paper is way, way beyond anything you're likely to be taught at the academy. And if you want points for it, hey, we're all impressed. It doesn't mean you don't do the assignment.
I'm late for a class, ma'am. Am I dismissed?
So this was interesting because we are made to want to side with Sam. Why did I say Ham?
Ham.
Haley and
Haley.
Sam.
Haley and Ham. That's their couple name. Ham.
We're meant to want to take Sam's side on this because it's like it very much it feels so fucking boomer coded, which is why that's my little subtitle. But it's like kids these days, they just do whatever they want. They don't do the assignment. They don't know what's good for them. Blah. They need to listen to us smarter, wiser adults. We're made to want to side with Sam, but Haley has a point. Why should Sam's word be taken as the utmost authority? We know Sam is right, that matter doesn't go both ways through the wormhole, because Sam fucking has the Stargate at her disposal, so she knows for sure. But Haley doesn't know that. So, like,
but
she's
Sam
right
didn't
to
say
question
Sam didn't say she was wrong, and Sam didn't say mine is right. Sam said you're making an assumption and you don't have that information, which is a very not good scientific thing to do. Like in science, you don't make assumptions because your study doesn't mean anything if you make assumptions, right? So Sam not once says you're wrong. Sam says you're making that assumption. How could you know that? Like, and that's the difference to me. So I totally side with Sam in this conversation because
you're right.
She's trying to get Haley, who's wicked smart, to like fucking become a scientist and not be like throwing out like, because Haley doesn't seem to care about making these assumptions in these papers when it's like, but that completely debunks your paper. If you can't give hard proof, like then there's no point to even writing this paper. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think
in this case, you know,
it's like her skepticism is misplaced. She's not skeptical about the science part, but she's skeptical and challenges Sam.
Yeah, it's like she immediately gets defensive, likely because of all this shit that we find out later, you know. But Sam doesn't know that. At this point, Sam's just trying to be like, yo, you need to be a better scientist, you know, like you can't do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think she is ready, like when she sees her in the room, she's like, Major Carter, she's already
beef.
She's already ready. And Sam's like, I don't know why, what are we doing?
But like imagine your whole life you've been compared, you know what I mean?
100%. That's why I totally relate and I empathize more with Haley than ever before. But in this case, Sam's just trying to be like, do the work, show the work. Don't
That is
just like
true.
jump on this, you know.
Yeah, she did a completely different assignment. So like
That too.
valid.
And if you're gonna be in the military,
criticism.
you can't just say no, I'm gonna do my own thing. Like honestly, like if your plan is
Truly,
to stay in the Air Force, like you can't just be like, nah, I'm not gonna follow that order. I don't feel like it.
I don't wanna.
I don't wanna.
Okay, and I'm so sorry for anyone listening. You're getting cat per ASMR right now.
I hear
her. Obviously, she could tell where I'm getting a little.
Why does she look like a lady on the cover of a romance novel, and you're the Fabio, and she's like,
listen. She only graced me with her presence when I was sitting on your toilet.
Listen.
She's like, this is your most vulnerable.
I cat sit for Christina, last week or whatever.
Yeah.
And those cats wanted nothing to do with me until the very last day. Except for when I was sitting on the toilet. Scary would come out and be like, what you doing? I'm like, cool, thanks. This is yeah.
You want to say hi? Well, now we're just gonna have cat purrs in the background, guys. Sorry.
That's fine. It's good. That's a good soundtrack.
Yeah.
So back off world, Jack and Teal'c are exploring, and they give Hamilton the okay to explore the caves. And Jack is kind of bummed because he's like, I kind of wish he was wrong, just so that he'd be wrong and we would have something interesting to look at and do.
He's really just bored. Yeah.
So they both hear a strange humming sound. They look around and spot a tiny gold glowing light which flies out of the woodland and circles around them before zipping off through a tree. Teal'c's common space person knowledge does come up short here because he's like, I've never seen anything like this before. Back at the academy, Sam goes back to talk to the professor about Haley's paper. So we have this dialogue between the two of them. Take it away.
Look, hold on. Hold on. I gotta catch up. Hold on.
You gotta scroll.
Hold on. I gotta scroll. Wait a second. Sorry. My phone timed out. Can someone go into the note at that spot so I can see your head in it?
I'm there. I don't know if you can see my floating face.
I can. Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
My floating face. This episode is brought to you, and every episode brought to you by Apple Notes.
All right. Yeah, I'm good. I'm here.
Look, at first I agreed with you. It just didn't add up. But there was something about it that kept nagging at me. I finally figured out what it was. The equations don't make sense unless you allow for variations in the speed of light.
Which is a universal constant.
Not if you expand the frame of reference to include multiple universes. That's where this paper comes in. I think without even realizing it, Cadet Haley intuitively arrived at a whole new way of looking at cosmology.
She starts to write on the whiteboard.
Under certain circumstances, what we would see as an effect preceding a cause would in fact be an effect following a cause in a parallel reality.
That's assuming that parallel realities occasionally overlap.
I'm fairly confident that's the case.
Really? Why? I know she's got to you, but I think you're trying hard to see something that isn't there.
All right. Even if this theory ultimately proves to be incorrect, you have to admit that it's a brilliant insight.
Jennifer Haley is no longer our problem.
What do you mean?
She got into a fight this morning with another cadet. As fond as General Kerrigan is of her, he'll have to expel her.
This is that part that yeah. He's kind of like happy about it. Like he's hyped. He's like, oh, good. Like, and here's the thing. I think he's insecure that this cadet is smarter than him. And he doesn't want to have to deal with her. And deal with being questioned by her. So he's just like, sweet. So back off world, the scientists get ready to search for the creature that Jack and Teal'c encountered. There's this dialogue. I don't know if you want to read it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, okay. So
it's Hamilton, Lee, and O'Neill.
I can take Hamilton.
Okay, I'll take the O'Neill.
I'll do Lee, and there's the one Teal'c at the bottom.
Okay.
I'll take
Okay.
So they're kind of like trying to sneak out, like a bunch of fucking teenagers once again. Like, oh, we're gonna sneak away.
All right. Hey, I didn't come halfway across the galaxy to wait permission to do my job.
I know, but Colonel O'Neill,
Colonel O'Neill doesn't have a clue what we're trying to accomplish here. He's too busy polishing his M16.
The scientists unknowingly walk past O'Neill and Teal'c are sitting against some crates. I don't know who are sitting against some crates. And Jack says, actually, it's a P-90.
Actually, it's a moon. That's that.
Yeah.
It's that.
Yeah. You boys going somewhere?
Yes, we were going to see if we could find that creature you encountered.
Well, apparently you didn't hear me the first time. I told you clearly and in no uncertain terms, not the heck yet.
You know, if your description is correct, we're talking about something that can pass right through solid matter.
Yes, and therefore, logically, we have no defense against it.
This is typical military thinking. You encounter something you don't understand and you immediately assume it's a threat.
Well, until we determine there is no threat, I will assume there is one. Do we have a problem here?
Colonel, with all due respect, really, when I agreed to this assignment, I was under the impression that I was going to be in charge.
You are in charge of other scientists.
That you even think are even qualified to decide what we can do and can't do around here is...
Colonel O'Neill is indeed qualified, Dr. Hamilton, having encountered many alien species, as have I, long before you were born. I strongly suggest you do what Colonel O'Neill says.
So this annoyed me too, because the scientists are portrayed as like these petulant children, and the military side is portrayed as like the smart, reasonable parents who know better. So technically, I agree with Jack, because that is the right approach. You have to be cautious. I get the excitement of like a scientist wanting to like explore and dig their hands into this, and wow, this is amazing. But I agree with him. In this scenario, I just hate how this dynamic is being, dare I say it, shoved down our throats. It's giving the whole, don't trust the science, trust the government and the military.
Yeah.
Relevant?
I was trying to think about it, like, yeah, I get. So I think about this in the context of like in EMS, like, is the scene safe? You know, like scene is not safe. We have not proven scene is safe yet. Yet there are still people that will just go still go in, and you're like, what the hell are you doing? Like, this is not like a good idea. And I don't know. I think it's just the way. It's not that they would fight back against it, I don't think necessarily, but it's definitely that like 90s nerd coded, like the way they're doing it.
Yeah,
totally.
Because pushing back against it is very, you know, I've seen that on potentially not safe scenes in EMS where people are like, I'm going in anyway, like screw you. And it's like, there's a reason why we don't do that, you know? Yeah.
So when you say like clear a scene or secure a scene, who is that? Like cops that are doing that for you, or like,
yeah, or sometimes you have to try to figure out or
firefighters?
determine yourself. Fire, like if it's a car that's rolled over, then fire's job to like secure the car before you climb in there after somebody or something. Like it's all those, like you have to have that in place before you can go do your job, you know?
Yeah. And I can see that coming from, correct me if I'm wrong, I can see this coming from two places. One, a place of wanting to help. But like, no, I got to get in there. I got to help. But then I wonder too if it's like a big ego thing of like somebody wanting to go, I want to be the hero. Let me go in there.
The people that break that procedure are very often, if you have a demographic in your head, it is that. Like, let's put it that way.
Stop.
Let's put it that way. Yeah. Yeah.
Shocking.
Shocking.
To nobody.
Too stunned to speak.
So
too stunned.
Back at the academy, we learned that Cadet Haley was helping to train an underclassman named Chloe Brown. Also, well, they didn't have to say her name, but another young woman who was having problems with her physical fitness test. And apparently one of the, I don't know this word, this is from the transcript. Is this like an upperclassman? I'm guessing.
It's a cadre would be like a cohort almost, I think. Like it's a grouping.
Okay. They made a derogatory comment about the young lady. We don't ever know what this comment was. We don't know the nature of it. It doesn't matter to me, quite frankly. Cadet Haley told him to knock it off, and when he didn't, she broke his nose. Justified.
Hell yeah.
100%.
So this Kerrigan is basically saying, it reminds me of that meme from like this show. I never watched the show, but I've seen the meme where they're like, I can tolerate racism, but I draw the line at animal cruelty.
Yeah.
Which is like, we can tolerate sexism, but we have to draw the line when people stand up to other people.
Yep. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So what were you gonna say, Christina?
No, it's interesting for me. So I don't know if you ever know about the tailhook scandal or tailhook.
You mentioned it in our emancipation episode.
Yeah. So it just makes me think about that again. Like my yoga instructor who just like back in the day, like someone was like, you know who that is, right? And I was like, no, they're like, it's Paula Coughlin. I was like, it's Paula Coughlin. And I looked it up and was like, oh fuck. Like, and I'm like, okay, like that moment with Haley just makes me think about like they probably said some shit, some really inappropriate shit to that young girl, and like totally justified. I don't know, just like that memory popped in my head. I haven't thought about it in a while, but just the
I have a horrifying story that I won't give too many details away because I don't want to like get myself on a watch list. But I know someone, a family member who works in the military, high up, like
Wells is like
officer rank at this point. And they were stationed at a particular place. I'll tell you offline. They were stationed at a particular place, and he was talking about like, oh, security, blah blah blah. But it's not because of what you think it is. It's because we need to protect the women on the base from the other men on the base. Yeah. Like they know it's a fucking problem.
And
that's however, teenage me, like 14-year-old me, I don't even want to fucking know what she's had to go through.
Oh,
like
my sister won't talk about it. Morgan won't talk about it.
I can only imagine.
Nope.
But like the fact that they know that they have to protect their own against their own.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Sam pleads her case and defends Haley. They send Haley into the office, and Sam just like gives her a verbal beatdown, basically calling her out, saying she thinks she's too good for the Air Force and the rules don't apply to her because she's smarter than all of her superiors. But Haley refuses to quit and walk away because Sam is basically like, "There's the door, bitch."
Yeah, and when she says she won't quit, Sam goes, "Good." Like,
yeah, it was like a test.
Yeah, good.
See if she could shake her down. So Kerrigan says, Cadet Haley, as far as I'm concerned, you've demonstrated a remarkable inability to be a functioning member of the U.S. Air Force, but Major Carter has a future in mind for you, and I respect Major Carter's opinion. Although the rest of your punishment stands, I'm not recommending dismissal. So we have this interaction with Sam and Haley in the hallway. Haley is annoyed that she is constantly compared to Sam. She's gotten the highest mark in every class, won every award Haley has ever been up for. They've been comparing the two, and Haley never quite seems to measure up. And then Sam says, and I don't know if I agree with what she says. She says, that's it. What? For the first time in your life, you've come to a place where you are not automatically the smartest and best at everything you do. Get over it. There are important things at stake.
I like that she did that. As someone, I think that needed to be said. Because sometimes when people think they are the best at everything because they've never been challenged, they've always had it easy, you tend to think you're in like a world, like you need to be humbled a bit in order to learn to have empathy and be like a bit part of, I don't know.
I think she's also trying to like bring the context into Haley that like, you think this is the most important thing right now is like all this bullshit, like that, like this bullshit. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. It's not like, you know, like, and also they had to come to that point in like how many minutes are we into the episode at this point?
I don't know.
Like, it would have been cool for them to actually have been able to have a longer conversation and like come to a better understanding. But they had to like move into this like part, but like the like meshing
the plots have to merge.
The plots have to merge. So you know, it's just a way to quickly do that. But yeah.
But I don't know, because what you were saying, Wells, about like how Haley is like tired of being constantly compared to Sam all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that like if that's what she was trying to expressed, to be like, I'm always compared to you. I'm not my own person. I'm just like the mini you. And then the way Sam took it was like, oh, so you just think you're like whatever. Like I don't know if there was like a miscommunication or like a misinterpretation of what was said on the audience end, like on our end, or between the two of them.
Well, she does say that, like, she never seems to measure up. Like, she
Okay.
is compared all the time, and she never seems to measure up. And I think that's, like, what Sam grabs a hold of, basically, in that conversation, to be like basically, to be like, you know, I don't have time because I want to show you just how important things are. Stop
Yeah.
worrying about who's better. And that kind of feeds into the lesson of it doesn't matter who's right that has to happen later as well.
Yeah.
Like, you need to get over this. You're the best. You're right. Who's right? Like, all of that. So I think the line was put in there the way it was specifically to try to like start pulling that lesson together, because we're hitting it in both of the plots at this point too, and then it's trying to like converge into the moral of the story, basically. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So obviously without proof, because Sam keeps alluding to stuff without being able to back anything up. Like obviously we know what Sam is talking about, but to Haley, she's just like, okay, sure, Jan, whatever. Like, which understandable. Like, so back off world, the scientists are bitching about having to answer to the military. Where did I don't know who said this or where this came from, if this was me. Science is about questioning the status quo, questioning authority. Now, how can we do that without the greatest scientific discovery in human history in the hands of the United States Air Force? This
It's
was
a
one of the
line in it.
scientists.
Yeah.
They're not wrong. Like, the fact that the military gets to control this, like, because they are their own entity that has their own agenda, like, they're not purely in it for the science of it all and the discovery of it all.
Right.
So this is where I'm like, they want us to be annoyed with the scientists and hate them and take the side of the SGC. All these nerds don't know what they're talking about. It's just a bunch of Poindexters, but I refuse. I'm just like, they wrote this purposely to make me feel a certain way, and I see through it, and I'm refusing to like bite into it.
To be fair, and I think about this because we got Bill Lee, Dr. Lee, you know, he comes back quite frequently throughout Stargate. And he does get another moment where he is 100% correct off world, and it's during Paradise Lost in season 6 when Sam is like trying to whip them into keep looking for Jack, and he's like, no, we have been here. We cannot find, there's nothing else we can do. Like, if something changes, we'll be happy to come back. But I kind of do like that, like, he's starting kind of here, but like he puts his foot down in 2 seasons, you know, like, and good for him, rightfully so. Sam is not being logical in that episode at all. So
she misses her man.
She does. She's not happy about it. She will run people into the ground to find him.
Yeah. So just then, one of the light bugs comes into the lab and zooms out. The scientists follow it into the forest and alert Jack on the radio. The scientists find a whole swarm of them, and Hamilton lets them surround him right as Jack and Teal'c meet up. And he's like, see, they're harmless. And you're kind of waiting for like the other shoe to drop to be like, the nerd's not right.
Like there's been too much dialogue at this point about good versus bad that you're like, nope, the bad's coming. The bad's coming.
So, cut to the SGC. Sam has brought Haley with her. She makes the case to Hammond that if she can show Haley what's possible in the Stargate, it will give her perspective and she'll get her act together. So she can really, like, she'll know what stakes are really out there so that she can, like, let all these petty squabbles and bullshit, like, slide and focus on.
Well, and that makes her, you know, the nice thing about that too is all of a sudden she'll get through like her bullshit at the Air Force because her brain isn't bored, because her brain knows like
what's coming.
There's
what's possible.
Yeah.
So we cut to Haley suited up and ready to go off-world with Sam. They meet up with Jack and head to the base. So like there's the whole moment when they, you know, the wormhole opens and she's like, wow, jump scare. Like, what is that? Oh my God. Like there's the whole thing and Sam's talking to her about it. So they meet up with Jack off-world, like, he kinda gives them the whole welcome wagon, and then they go off to the encampment. And they tell Sam and Haley about the light creatures, and they manage to capture one. And this was really cool. Let's read this dialogue, because I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I thought this was so cool. So, O'Neill, Haley, and Carter. So I'll get the O'Neill, and there's, like, a Hamilton in there too.
I can do
Carter.
Haley Hamilton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jack says, yeah, Teal'c and I saw one zip right through a tree. Didn't even slow it down.
That's so cool.
That's exactly what I said. I said that.
If that's the case, what's keeping it inside the cylinder?
Hamilton says, that was Dr. Lee's idea. The top and bottom plates are electrified. The field seems to be holding it in. Haley says, you're not hurting it, are you? Hamilton says, creature has no physical body. I don't think it's capable of feeling pain.
But if it's intelligent, it might not appreciate being held in a cage.
So then Hamilton lets it go free. But this dialogue was so cool because she is like the 3 members of SG-1. She's smart like Sam. She thinks, wow, that's so cool. Like Jack. Are you hurting it? Is it okay? Like Daniel. She is like all of the 3 of them into one. And I thought that was so cool to see. So, cut to the forest where the other scientists are looking for the swarm, and one approaches a scientist very aggressively this time. And the light bug starts to go through this Dr. Thompson scientist. He goes through his hand at first. He drops the scanner. It goes to the center of his body, and he grunts and doubles over in pain. More light bugs appear and swarm around him. They done pissed off the light bugs now, and Lee leaves Thompson and runs back to the camp. We see Haley have a nice interaction with Teal'c when Lee rushes back to tell everyone the light bugs are attacking. So Haley is talking to Teal'c, and she's asking him, like, you're not a human. Where are you from? Is this your planet? There's more planets than there's, like, it was really cute.
She's lighting. She's like, this is the itch I need scratched. This is what I needed. Like, total tone shift.
Yep. So Jack and Teal'c find that Thompson is dead. Back at the base camp, they try to make a run for it, but the swarm chases them back into the lab. They're able to hold them off with Zats and basically electrify the aluminum walls. It works, but they have no clue how long the generator will last. There's a debate about, like, who filled it up last. It was Lee, and he's dead now, so we can't confirm. We don't know. Whoops. So Jack asks why they became violent in the first place. His Sam poses the idea that it could be retaliatory for having one of their own captured, but Haley thinks it's something else. Does somebody want to read that chunk?
Yeah, I'll take it. I've been going over Dr. Thompson's astronomical observations. Did you know this moon wasn't even formed from the original accretion disk of the planet? Dr. Thompson thinks it was a rogue that got pulled into a highly eccentric polar orbit. A planet's magnetic field emanates from the poles. It's where it's the most intense. According to Dr. Thompson's observations, we entered into the polar phase of the orbit a couple days ago, about the same time the creatures were first encountered, and they became violent right at the moment we were directly over the pole.
So we have 2 competing theories. We have Sam's theory of, like, they done pissed off the bugs because they captured one, and now they're mad. Or it could be just like their reaction to this polar magnetic field shifting as the planet goes through its orbit. So it's like they're on their, I don't know. It's like, oh, it's that time of the month. The bugs are pissed at us. Like, we gotta hide. So with Haley's theory, all they would have to do is wait a couple hours and see if the creature's behavior returns to normal. If Sam is right, waiting will make it worse. But if Haley is right, waiting will make everything okay. Haley and Sam butt heads. Haley thinks she is right, and she asks Jack not just to believe Sam because he expects her to be right. So that was a weird,
some trauma-coded response. Like, that's like some school bringing it there because she's so used to, well, Sam's always right. Sam's always right. So, like,
I just feel scary. See, this time around, like, I was trying to be more receptive to how she was feeling, and I'm just thinking, like, how many times has this girl just been invalidated and told she's wrong and told she has to, like, get off her high horse, and told this and told that and compared to this person and that person, and just, like,
And listen,
I feel.
she's still like what, 20? How old she's supposed to be right now? Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't handle shit like that when I was 20 in any sort of way that was adult seeming. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, as much as you want to say the like you don't want to overdo the whole well, these young kids thing, but in reality, she is young. She's got a lot on her shoulders. She's wicked smart. And then, you know, she's just been hammered down with this. Like, it makes sense. Her reactions actually make sense to me as a
rage is
person.
fresh. Yeah, the
Yeah.
rage is fresh versus like someone who's older where they're just like jaded and they're like, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
fucking way the world is. It sucks
Right.
ass.
Right.
Like,
Oh.
So we have some dialogue. O'Neill and Haley and Carter. So let's.
Yep.
Yeah. So O'Neill says, it doesn't matter who's right, cadet.
Colonel, you're risking your life for nothing.
Decisions made.
How can it not matter who's right?
If he makes a run for the gate, he's risking his own life. If he waits, he risks everyone's life. He can't do that.
So this is interesting because Haley is very book smart. Like, she's smart with numbers, she's smart with like science and math. But this is where like military and tactical smarts comes into play. Like, it's a different kind of smart to like think of how tactically and strategically things will play out. It's a completely different like area of the brain that you have to activate.
Not only that, she's having to witness somebody in command make a, you know,
real life decision.
A real life like crisis decision, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this is not shit she's had to look at in school ever at this point.
So there was this really funny interaction where Hamilton is like, you know, O'Neill is like, when I give the go ahead, you make a run for the gate. And Hamilton is like, we can't leave behind these weeks of research. And Jack like yells, he's like, Carter, if he so much brings a file folder, shoot him.
I love it because she's
like, yeah, I got you. So Teal'c shoots Jack with a Zat.
There you go.
And they kind of came across this whole theory because when the bugs came in, they were attacking the one scientist and they shot him with the Zat and the bugs left him. So they make the assumption that like when you're shot with a Zat, the electromagnetic field kind of like keeps the bugs away. It's like you're kind of like it's like bug repellent almost.
Yeah.
So we just needed one Florida man among these people, and I think we would have been fine.
Just one.
So the swarm starts to chase Jack, but the Zat works and he makes it to the Stargate and starts to dial so goddamn slowly.
Every time I watch this episode, like, not only that, but like he gets there and he stops, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then he goes, I've made it to the gate. And then he slowly approaches and dials that shit like it's a rotary phone. You know, like, what?
He's waiting. He is waiting for the gate. Yeah. Why are you waiting? Press those buttons, bitch. Like,
we're not cranking it. Like, just go. Like,
so goddamn slow. And then like he gets maybe halfway through and the bugs start to attack him. But we see that Teal'c has followed him and shoots a Zat to scare them off. They dial the gate and the swarm flees. And this is what they figured the electromagnetic energy created by the Stargate would kind of like give them a wider range and the swarm would flee. So the scientists come groveling back to Jack about how he was right and they're so sorry. Boo-hoo. We humble ourselves in front of the Lord Patriarchy of the U.S. military. Yeah, this is, you know, I'm right. Like, that's this game.
Well, they just saved their lives too. So like,
true.
I'd be pretty thankful too. I'm pretty, because like at that point, I think all of them had been like the two scientists left had been like
a bunch of haters, and
they'd also been like hit by those bugs, both of them at that point.
Yeah.
So
Jack was like, I'm never going to complain about mosquitoes ever again.
Yeah.
So our final shot is Haley and Sam about to leave through the gate. Haley wonders if they'll ever find out which one of them was right. Sam says, if you stick around long enough, maybe. Besides, there will always be other planets. And then Haley says, it's a moon. ma'am. She's like, okay, you're right about that. Fade out.
She says it's a moon smiling, though. It was a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're besties
All right.
now. It's fine.
Comments check. What do we got?
There's some good ones.
Let's see. Back at the beginning, Scott mentioned it's like when you're always compared to the oldest sibling, you have to meet that impossible bar, just like you were talking about, Christina. I had a friend who also the same thing because she came up after her brother, and her brother was same sort of situation. Mara said, I did like the look behind the door feel of some shots because when Sam knocks her down, we then see her with the other characters talking her up, which is fun to see. Like she's got to be this like, I'm gonna challenge you, and I'm
To her
gonna
face.
to her face.
Yeah.
But then she's like, no, she's really good, yo. Like we need her.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Let's see. Talking Mermaid said, Cat Lady life is the best. Like, don't threaten me with a good time. And I can't remember exactly when that hit.
It's probably when we're talking about like the single cat ladies and
Yes,
you need the man in your life.
Yep.
No, not the
Correct.
cat ladies.
Like you're gonna be a single lady. Like, okay, and don't threaten me with a good time. And then
Scary showed up perfectly for that comment. Yeah.
John said I will say, and this was again during the talking about men. Said, I will say it takes a lot to get over an upbringing of rub some dirt on it and you'll be okay. But once you do, it's totally worth it.
It's a lot to deconstruct within yourself. And, you know, we have to, I'm very open and willing to give grace to those who try, but those who will not fucking try, I don't have time for that. Like, stay away from me. I'm just, don't.
Megan said, and this was when I was talking about the scene is not safe. So Megan said, but I also, again, as a scientist, they should know better. Universal precautions always assume the thing is infectious or dangerous. So, and Megan also had said something about the making assumptions. It's always, as a scientist, making assumptions is making an ass out of you and me, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But, like, never make assumptions. Scott said SG 3-in-1.
Yeah.
About Haley.
It washes your hair conditions and washes your body.
Yep. Mara says, I've got to say for her first time off world, she handled the unexpected happening pretty well. Agreed.
She finally felt like, oh, this is challenging for me. Like, I'm not bored. I'm like, thinking on my feet.
Yeah.
Having to use like more of her brain power.
Absolutely. I don't know. I think I'm back to kind of being okay with the episode in some ways, more so than I was before we discussed it, honestly. I think there are benefits to the episode. And I think that some of that attitude and like the men toward Haley and how Haley was it feels more intentional this time around watching it.
I understand it better now.
Yeah.
Whereas before I'm like, she's annoying and Sam's the best and I don't know why she doesn't listen to Sam, blah blah blah, like that type of thing.
Yeah. Cool.
So for themes and discussions, let me go back to my note. We have like the young versus old trope. Not that Sam is old; she's in her fucking 30s or something. I don't know how old Amanda Tappy was here.
Would have been in her 30s at that point.
It's that whole like mentor and mentee relationship, the nerd versus the military aspect of it. The concept of sometimes it doesn't matter who is right, and I do like the idea of this.
Even though, I put in the notes. This is the one. This is the lesson I actually really like out of this episode.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. It's a hard lesson for everyone.
Yeah.
It's hard. Nobody doesn't want to be right. You know what I mean? Like, it takes some self-humbling. It takes work to be willing to be like, it doesn't matter if my idea wasn't right. You know, especially in the context of if you're supposed to be working as part of a team or something, you know, it might be frustrating that your idea didn't turn out to be the one chosen or the one correct. But it also it comes with also understanding that when you posit an idea to a group, even if it isn't right, it doesn't mean it wasn't productive and it wasn't useful, because that's the whole point of like
talking it out
and talking it out. Yeah. But it takes work to get okay with that. You know, a 20-year-old is probably not going to be okay with that, you know? So that's why I really like that lesson. I think it's a good one to think about, and it's something that even I sometimes I struggle with it. I try to like be like, just think about it, just shut up for a minute, like don't get mad, and like think about why decisions were made or like what happened, you know?
Oh, God, yeah. That's a huge struggle. Like, because even like I think about at work, like I will look at something and be like, I understand that we need black and white data to drive gray area strategy. And that's like that's the only way I keep myself sane, because I'm like, I have to accept that the only thing that's black and white is like data, but we don't use that to like execute on a black and white strategy. We use it to kind of gauge a risk. Like, okay, great, we have this bumper and this bumper, and we accept that risk. We want to learn the wrongs and the rights, and we want part of it to be wrong so we can learn. If you're never wrong, you don't learn new things. And like, it's an interesting mindset that I historically have struggled with. In this episode, I like too, because it does give a good reminder that like
it kind of it makes you give yourself an ego check too, you know, like
100%.
Very often I go, okay, ego check yourself before you say anything, you know, like let's think about it. Like, why are you triggered by this? Like, what is going on in your head? Like, how are you thinking about it? And so I think that's a really important lesson. So I do appreciate that lesson within, and that being kind of the main moral of the story, as it were, for the episode.
Yeah. On another, like, looking at it through a different lens, something that, like, I'm still like stewing on it, I guess. I did take a nap after I watched it, so maybe I should have thought about it more. But like, thinking about, again, the context of it, we have Sam, who is a woman who has been in the military longer than Haley has. We have Haley, a young up-and-comer. The fact that they are both women is integral in my mind to this story. Like, you cannot ignore this fact. And there's something in this story, I don't know, like, where society, the world, the patriarchy seems obsessed with the idea of humbling exceptional women. Like, oh, she's really smart, oh, she's really exceptional, but she needs to be humbled just a little bit because it's kind of insufferable that she's so good, so like we need to humble her, where that's not really, I don't think, seen, and I could be wrong if I'm looking at it a different way. Like, I think men in these stories are humbled by what they experience, and they look at like the life lessons, versus like women in these cases, it's like, no, we need to intentionally tell them, you're not all that. You need to like take it down a notch.
Yeah.
Because like, so I don't know, there's something in there that like this obsession with humbling smart, exceptional women.
Or it's like when the I forget which Williams sister it was, like slammed her tennis racket down and like got a slap on the wrist about it. Meanwhile, men in tennis are destroying their tennis rackets and nothing. Like, but like, oh God forbid a woman like rages out for a minute. Like, God forbid, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of that too, like.
Yeah.
They don't like aggressive or like confident, you know. It's those things that are very intimidating to certain men in these positions and everything, you know, like.
And it makes me I think of that, it's Oprah in her one interview, were you silent or were you silenced? It's like, are they intimidating or are you intimidated? There's a difference to that.
Yes.
Because it's like the whole like somebody said there's no female version of being emasculated. It is purely a man's ego thing, and it's like only they can that's something within themselves they have to work out. Why are you feeling this way? Let's break this down. Like there's your back to your point, Christina, of like sit with yourself and reflect on why you feel the way you feel. But not a lot of people are willing to do that work. So like John's point in the comments, like being conditioned and socialized a certain way within a hierarchical society, it's hard to break out of that. It's the hierarchy for me.
It's the hierarchy of the patriarchy. There's a lot of archies going on.
Archies. It's all the archies.
Episode.
One of my favorite thing. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I do really appreciate. Number one, I don't think it is a bad choice at all on anybody's point. Even in this hypothetical situation, if it was these two characters were real, I think Sam is a very appropriate mentor for her.
Yeah.
Like 100%. You want somebody that is going to be more similar than less similar. And what I like about the conflict in this, because I really was trying to think about it. Obviously, it's not Bechdel level because they're not talking about a man, you know. But it was like, you know, if you've watched it for the first time or it's been a long time since you watched it, there's that concern that it is going to be like pitting these two women against each other, fighting for one piece of pie, you know, or one seat at the table. And it really ultimately wasn't that.
No.
Like even so Sam never let Haley like anger her, period. Because Sam was like, she's brilliant. I think she could be great. Probably did kind of understand some of the frustration because she never got like mad. Like she never got mad at her. She said what she had to say like in front of her a couple of times, but that was like clearly a part of the strategy. You know, that wasn't her getting mad. And then on Haley's side, the anger itself didn't really feel 100% just directed at Sam either.
She's mad at the world.
She's mad at the world. She's mad at the comparison, but she's not necessarily like, I hate you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do really appreciate that there was more nuance to that conflict because it could have been taken in a very like, oh, we got a cat fight on our hands sort of way. You know what I mean? Like, and it was not like, that was not how it happened. So I like that.
I do also appreciate that we are kind of shown the reverse of a trope that we see a lot in media, where the older woman, which again, I say this without want of a better term, because Sam is not old. Okay. Like she's in her 30s. That's not fucking old. But like you see this trope of like the older woman being pitted against the younger, more beautiful, up and coming woman who's better than her. And like,
let's be real about which one's more beautiful too. Come on.
Correct. Correct. No competition. But this is the reverse of that trope, right? Because we see that like if you look at even like Disney movies where it's like the young princess and the evil hag stepmother, like it's baked into our society, and it's a way to keep women pitted against each other so that who can come out on top? The patriarchy comes out on top all the time if we just continue to infight. It's true. So like this whole like young versus old bullshit, like I know. The whole idea of like younger or like older women hating on younger women for their youth and beauty and fertility, and I'm just an old lonely cat lady, blah blah blah, like that kind of shit. And then like younger women kind of like having animosity towards older women because it's like they think they know everything, but they don't know everything, and blah blah blah. And it's like, this is a canon event, girl. Like you'll fucking learn, believe me. You know, you can listen to us and the wisdom of older women, or you can just like live your life on struggle hard mode and find out the hard way. But you're going to find out sooner or later. And one day, if you are lucky enough, you will also be seen as an old person. And then there will be younger women below you, so to speak, or women younger than you that will have that same attitude towards you. So it's just an interesting concept that like it is kind of the reverse of that like old crony hag versus the young beautiful princess type of vibe. Like So I can appreciate that aspect of it because of course they want us to root for Sam.
Yeah.
Because of course we're going to anyway. So like, what are you gonna?
Well,
what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like,
even when
we're
she's
a little bit
gone,
biased.
I'll
just a tad.
defend her.
But we're just a tad biased for Amanda at this point.
Just a tad.
Just a tad. Tad. Oh,
But that's all I got.
Well, I
That was
think
good.
we sufficiently covered this episode.
Yeah.
I did. I appreciate the conversation. And I'm kind of glad I didn't look at your notes much ahead of time, Sarah, because I really appreciate being able to have the kind of patriarchal
live reaction.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. I actually just listened to a podcast episode about older women in media and how they're portrayed. And of course, like the Golden Girls was brought up as being one of like the evergreen examples of that. And it is a wonderful show. I highly recommend it because
I know we'll get around at some point. We can do a run through.
Yeah. Contrary to popular belief, women's life is not over after 30 or 40.
And how many guests, how many of our now friends have we talked to that have talked to us about going through that? Like, I mean, Sue Ann, the first time we talked to her, even it's an issue. It's like, you are either the young woman or you are the old hag. But like,
that's jealous of the young.
God forbid you be in your 50s, 60s, you know, unless you're an A-lister that just keeps working through that.
Meryl Streep,
you know.
Yeah.
No.
Well, you know, at this point, even like the ladies on Friends and all that, they're all at that age at this point. You know, like, but unless you hit that level, you're
discarded
for things. Yeah, it's
I hate such a horrible double standard of like. Men are silver foxes and women are old fucking hags. Blech, gross. Go die.
So far from the truth anyway, but you know, I'm just saying.
I would let Gillian Anderson run me over with her car.
Correct.
Like, you know.
Step on me, please.
Please.
With the pointiest heel.
Yeah. Please do it. I love it. All right. Who's closing it tonight?
I don't even know.
I don't either. So everybody closed it jointly on the 100th episode. It was the montage.
Oh, wait. Okay. I think I got something.
Right.
Based off of your Instagram caption.
Okay. Let me get the button ready.
I got a thing.
Ready? All right. I'm ready whenever you are.
I don't something like you mentioned like America's Next Top Astrophysicist.
I did. Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite like reality TV crash outs is Tyra Banks.
Nice.
Going. Get ready. We were rooting for you, Cadet Haley. We were all rooting for you. How dare you? Close the iris.